Hi everyone, okay, today what we're going to do is we are going to start a process of creating a vehicle. Now this method, the way in which you usually would create vehicles, uses planes and the edge subobject mode and extrusion in order to make the car's overall shape. First of all though, you have to get some decent blueprints in order for the pictures to line up. You will need to separate them. So first of all, I've gathered some blueprints, as we can see there in Photoshop. These are actually from a website called theblueprints.com, which is just here. It's actually a free website that gives you some resources that you can look at and find out which vehicles you want to use. There's tractors, there's cars, there's vans, there's lorries, there's planes, the lot, tanks, any sort of vehicle on there. Obviously you want to try and get ones that are of good quality in terms of pixel sizes. I think this one I've got is around 2210 by 2225 pixels, so that's pretty decent size for what we want, and to be able to zoom in and get the detail of the car. Okay, so first of all what we're going to do is we're going to load that picture into Photoshop like we've done here, just through opening it as you would once you've saved the file on the internet browser. What we're going to do next is we're actually going to use the rulers in order to line up where it is that we need to save the parts of the image to as well. This will save time when we're putting the blueprints on a box once we get into 3DsMax. So what I'm going to do is just drag down the rulers, and I'm going to have one that is across there and one that is down here, and then I'm going to do exactly the same for the top or the side of the vehicle. Then I'm going to do this at the front and the back as we got at the top. So what we can see now is we've got a square that's going to take this for the side view, we've got a square that's going to take this for the top, and then we've got the back and the front of the car as well. What we're actually going to do with this is we're going to use the crop tool or the rectangular marquee tool. It's totally up to yourself. I prefer to use the rectangular one and then create the images as something separate. So what we're going to do is marquee select. So click and drag this top part, press Ctrl C or edit copy, and then we're going to go to File and New, and just press OK because it should have the required measurements that we have for the marquee select. Then we're going to go back to the other one and we're going to select the top, or the top right one, which is the actual back of the car. Do exactly the same, Ctrl C, File New, OK, and Ctrl V or paste. Then we're going to do this next part. And finally the last one. Okay, now what we've slightly done a little bit differently with these, with the back of the car and the front of the car, is we've not actually tucked them down as close to the roof as what we'd like, and the same with the side view. So you can see on here the top view is actually very close to what the overall car shape is, so we're going to need to do that with the crop for the others as well. So we're going to now go to the crop tool, and we're also going to go like a marquee select, and we're going to drag this down so it meets the top of the car and the bottom of the car, and then we're going to OK that up here. Okay, and then we're going to do that exactly the same with this. We're going to move it down so that it reaches the top, and this one reaches the bottom of the car, and press OK again. And then we're going to do exactly the same with the front of the car. Okay, so now we've got these four that are as close as possible to what we would actually want to use. We don't actually need this one anymore, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Now with these, what we're going to do is save these images out as separate ones. So what we're going to have is obviously call this one top, this one is going to be the back, and this one's going to be the side, and we're going to have front. So with this then, what we're going to do is we're going to save them. So it's File, Save As, and we want to save them all as JPEGs. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a box for this to sit in. Now I've just got this set up so I can see the files here that I'm going to be using on the car within here. What we're going to do is we need to find out how big the actual images are so that we can correspond them with the size of the box as well. Now within Max, I'm just sticking with generic units for now. I know that usually you would try and get models to be exactly the same size as what they are in real life, but we'll do that at the end, and we'll scale it up or scale it down to the actual size of the original. What we're going to need to do though is click this top one first and go to Organize and Properties, and then Details, because what we need to find out is these measurements. Now the pixel measurements, as we've got, is 333 by 136. Now the 336 is evidently going to be the length of the car, so from the start we know that 333 is going to be your length when we're making the box, and the 136 is going to be the width. We can OK that, and then we're going to click on the front, do exactly the same to find out what the actual up is. Now we've got a 143 here. Now that's probably the closest one to the 136 we had for the width originally. So we're going to stick with the 136 that is going to be that one. So that would be the width, and now we've got the height as well. So that's 104. So when we come into 3DsMax, let's just maximise this now. What we're going to do is create the box. We're going to change the measurements of this to 333 for length. Width is going to be 136, and height is going to be 104, and that should correspond with the actual size of the car. Now you can rescale this afterwards. It doesn't really make any difference to the size of the object once we've created it. It's just so that the textures fit to it properly, and then we're not going to get any distortion. With this, we need to make sure it's in the middle of the scene, so we need to move it to 0, 0, 0 just by right clicking. With this now, we're going to convert it to Editable Poly, and we're going to delete the top polygon, and we're also going to delete, if we go into the side view, we want the left, the one that's in front of the left, we are going to delete that one as well, so we'll be able to see the one on the back. We want to keep the rest of them so that we can place the blueprints on top. So what we should have now is a box that's removed two sides of it. Select the whole of the box, and we're going to then flip the geometry so it's now on the inside rather than the outside. We're going to have to apply a multi-sub object texture to this, so we're going to go into the material editor, and you shouldn't have to do any of this with the Archer design thing, but it does on some versions. We're just going to change that to standard. It should already be there. You don't need to worry about that too much. If not, go to standard, and then we're going to add what is called a multi-sub object instead. Okay, we're also going to need to find our images. So I'm going to bitmap, desktop, Challenger, front or back, either, whichever pops up first. show it in viewport. Go back to parent, so we should have the front here. We're going to name that in there front so that we can remember. Or was it the back? No, it was back, wasn't it? It was back. Okay, so this one, standard, diffuse, bitmap, front, show viewport, and color on front. Same with the next one, standard, diffuse, bitmap, side, show viewport, side. Last one, standard, bitmap, top, show viewport, and show viewport. Make sure I did that one. Okay. And we're going to call that one. Okay, so now we've got all four of them. We're going to apply that to the object. Okay, so we should end up with this. What we need to now do is tell it which one we want to apply to which. So we're going to need to go into Polygon subobject, scroll down to where it says Polygon Material IDs. We need this one to be side, so we're going to find one that's side. Front view, we can see that it's the front, so that's fine. However, we want the one that is this one here to be the back view. So the one that is first selected in the front view, you can see we need to actually change that so that it is the back. This will be revealed to you later why it makes a difference. This one here is going to be the top. Okay, and that one's facing the same direction as what that is. That's very important to have correct. So now we should be okay. With this, if you don't have it, what you will need to do is to change the direction of the map by going into it and changing. It's probably going to be this coordinate in order to get it to change the direction. Okay. So once we've done that, we're going to come out of the polygon subobject, and what we're going to do is we are going to right click and we're going to go to object properties. Now we're going to click by layer and we're going to do backface cull and click show frozen grey off, and then we're going to freeze. So what this should allow now is for us to move around it. You see that the parts of the box are disappearing depending on which view that we're in. So if we go in the left view, we can see the left, or anything like that. So it actually works quite nicely when you're moving around your scene. So what we're going to do now is, because we see that the images aren't that great at the moment, we're going to go to views, and then we're going to go to show materials and viewport as realistic with maps. And we get a bit of a better quality of the image that we have in the scene. Okay, to start off, what we're going to do is go in the side view and then press G to turn off the grid, because what I'm going to start off with is the outside of the wheel. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a plane, zoom in, and we're going to do this, but we're going to go length segments 1, width segments 1, and we're going to right click, convert to editable poly. Now with this, we're going to click on the top with the move tool and hold shift in order to keep moving around the shape of the wheel arch. And what we're going to need to do a little bit by bit is to just move these verts so that it's going to gradually look like it's changing, and not just doing it off the cuff. We carry on extruding around and moving the verts, so we're getting the shape of a wheel arch. Okay, so we'll move that down to there, and we'll move some of these together. many shapes as possible. Now what we have at the minute is this positioned here. What we're going to do is move it straight away in the top view so that it is going to line up with the side of the vehicle straight away. Turn verts on, and we're going to actually move it straight away into the position that lines up with the vehicle. We're going to line the verts straight away so that we're not moving forward without changing in the other directions that we need to when we're working with 3D. Okay, so we'll gradually just move those in so that it's going to coincide with the shape of the vehicle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move out slightly, and we're going to do the same. So I'm going to move that one out, that so that it is lining up. Same with some of these, we move them out. I'm going to target weld these two together until they gradually end up starting to move outwards. I'm going to do this with this side. Same, target weld these. Move that one over here. And then that edge and that edge I'm going to bridge. We're very low poly at the moment, which is something I want to actually stick to for the time being. We will start and get a bit more and more polys in when we start getting into sort of doing a bit more detail. I'm going to move these back as well. And gradually to the point where we're starting to get to bits of detail on the car. Okay, so what we have at the minute is this shape. I'm going to go on top view again, and we're going to start lining this up again with the image so that we carry on to the shape of the vehicle, just moving it in so that it coincides with the overall shape. And look from the side, it's giving it a bit more shape. Okay, so what we're going to start to do then is we're going to just show you what happens when we move around to the back. So we can change the view to the back view, and we're going to start by moving these across, and then we're going to line up this to the rest of the vehicle. Move these down slightly into the top view. And this we're going to start moving these back into this position again. So looking perspective view. Left view. Move that one back again. That one up. That one up. We go back in the back view. And then I'm going to move them down. That one down. As you can see at the minute, this is actually happening here. So what we're going to have to do with this, so that we don't get this sort of shape coming off, we're going to go into perspective, have that one selected, so we need to put another connection in between all of these. So we're going to select them, and then we're going to press connect, and place that there. We're going to have these then. We're going to use the scale tool to move them in together, and we're going to move it into the shape of the object again, the same as these, move them together so we keep the object a similar shape. So when we move back into that view again, start to see that all the views, left view, the back view, and the top view start to actually work together. Okay, and you can start to see that this is starting to curve around. I'm going to carry on and do a little bit more. We're going to move these across. Let's create the middle of the vehicle. It's going to move them into the middle just so I can show you something quite quickly. With this, I'm going to start moving some of these up so that we're going to start to gain a bit more of the shape of the overall vehicle. Now, I'm going to keep moving these in as well so that it keeps coinciding with the shape. You can see we start getting more and more of this shape of the car appearing. If we go into perspective view, we can actually sort of see the shape of the car starting to, at the back at least, become something. So we're going to just move these over again so that that one is going to become a part of the top now that we're changing as well. You get a gradual change in the shape. Move them over there. On the side view, we can see that this part over here starts to move up there around here, so we're going to move that up to the same part there, another one there, and another one to put that there. I'm going to move these down a little bit, coincide with this, move them down, get with that, and the same with this. Okay, switch these two. And the third one. Okay. We're starting to get a bit of a shape appearing. Going to the back and move them in again. Okay. What we're going to do now is show you two things that are going to help you out with this. What we're going to do first of all, select this object, go to Symmetry Modifier list. Now, we know that the x-axis is the one we need to work with, but we're going to just... oh, maybe not. Let's change that to the Z, and we're going to change the flip and move it over with the mirror selected. Now we should get, in the top view, two sides of the object starting to be created. Now this is quite important when we start to move things and put them together, because what we'll see is if we go back into Editable Poly it disappears, but if we show end result they come back. What we want to try and do is to start the creation of this part of the roof, so we can actually see that the three dimensions are starting to work together. What you'll see is now if I start building over the top, they start to become part of the same object and they start to meet within the middle, which allows us to make the shape of this car all the way through. Now Symmetry is really good to work with that. There's also another tool in which I like to use in order to get the lines to start to flow a little better. You can see they're a little bit blocky at the moment, and sometimes it's quite hard to get them to flow as if it's sort of a natural line. So what I actually do is use these modelling tools at the top, and then in loops we've actually got something called set flow. So what we're going to do is to click this one, and what set flow does is if we click it, is it actually places the edge in the sort of the middle ground between the other two edges that surround it. So if I do this on the other, you see that we gradually get this sort of curved shape, and it enables us to get the car to look a lot more curved, which is a lot harder to do with your own click of the mouse. And this has only sort of really come into 3ds Max in that sort of the last few editions of the graphite tools, and they're really useful in order to sort of create cars and natural objects in using this sort of method, because it enables us to actually produce sort of realistic or believable outcomes. You can see that that looks a lot nicer now than what it did previously, but we'd have to make sure that it would match up with the rest of the pictures. What we'd do then is just carry on all the way around with the whole car, making sure that we'd put in different bits of detail to allow us to create the rest of the car, and including the exhaust. The wheels you would do separately as cylinders, and really sort of just have a bit of fun creating the car, trying to get as much of the detail in as possible. It's a very good idea to have picture reference from the start so that you know what parts of the car look like. You can use this method of 3D modelling for a variety of things, so give it a go.